everyone. Welcome back to She Owns It, live here from Venture X in Palm Beach Gardens, our location sponsor this season, and we're with the Palm Beach County Women's Chamber of Commerce, and I'm really excited again because this show, if you are stressed, if you're having a hard time, this show is for you. So it's basically a show for everybody because everybody's stressed, right? Pretty much. So today we have another amazing member, Pat Forde with the MindHealing Institute. We want to do a lot of healing today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think this is a great topic because I think stress is like the number one thing that everybody deals with, but they just think that they're dealing with it. Like it's not something that they're really, really dealing with it. So today we're going to give you some tips to kind of deal with stress, PTSD, all these other things that I think a lot of people are dealing with. So stay tuned at the end because Pat is going to teach us a 1-minute meditation, right?
Just a few little tips.
Just a few little
with
tips.
A brief period of quietness.
Quietness. I don't think I can get quiet. We're going to see.
I'm sure you can.
She's amazing. We've been doing a lot of talking off camera, so I'm really excited. So you're a new member of the Women's Chamber.
Yes, I am.
And why did you join?
Well, I knew a gal who belonged, and she was telling me about it, and I had belonged to a Women's Chamber of Commerce when I was down in Miami. And when I came up to Palm Beach County and I found out that there was a women's chamber, I got all excited because my experience has been when you're around other women, they tend to kind of push you up. Mm-hmm. And anybody who belongs to an organization like this, they're usually pretty bright.
Yes,
and yes, and they are really wanting to be the very best they can be. And when you're around people like that, it's very, very energizing, and you exchange ideas and you just kind of work with each other and pull each other up.
That's exactly why we exist, and I think it's like a domino effect. Once mm-hmm. you're around people, you know, and they don't have to be in the same business as you, but with the same willingness to help others, mm-hmm. I think amazing things happen. She Owns It as a product of that. We're here in our second season to highlight just that. So welcome. We're excited to have you. So you've done a lot in your life. You've worked at Fortune 500 companies. You're an RN.
Yes.
And then going into a more mindful type of practice. Is that mm-hmm. correct?
Yes.
But you don't like to call it mindfulness.
Well, I like to call it more of an awareness. In fact, I had a conversation. My mom accidentally called it mindlessness. And then I thought about it. I said, you know what? Mom's probably more right than not, because sometimes when you think about mindfulness, it means your mind is full.
Right.
And we want a little less of that.
No clutter.
Exactly. But, and there's nothing wrong. Everybody uses it. That's the buzzword. But I think awareness really captures what we're trying to do, because when we're aware, we're present.
And that's, I think, what it's really about, is being present in your life, mm-hmm. which I think some people are not. They're just kind of going through the motions. They got to go to work, they got to take care of the kids, they're dealing with stress, you know, the boss is this and the business and all that, and I think you're getting away from being more aware. Like you're not present.
Pulled in every direction. I mean, I know what that's like. When I was working for a Fortune 500 company, I was a single parent, and I had 2 daughters. I was also a caregiver.
Wow.
And just trying to juggle it. And then there was extensive travel, and I got it. I mean, stress really takes its toll on you. And today, women especially are more stressed out than ever. I mean, we think with women's lib, you know, that all these great things are happening.
And they are great.
They are great.
But with that comes being really overwhelmed.
But we're getting more and more responsibility kind of put on our shoulders. And we haven't necessarily been given the tools to work with that. I think that some of these practices that we're looking at, particularly meditation and acceptance and commitment training, really help you to develop some self-regulating skills, some self-soothing skills. And I can say honestly, I have wonderful parents, But nobody taught them or me about self-soothing or self-regulating skills. Trust
Absolutely,
me.
right.
Yeah.
And especially I think it's more becoming a little bit more okay to talk about now, whereas even when I was growing up, I mean, my parents were great, but we didn't talk about those things. You know, you had to kind of suck it up and just kind of deal with it. You know, you're just taught to just kind of get over it. Sometimes you can't get over it. And if you're not given the tools, and I'm so happy you said that, because they really are like tools in a toolbox to kind of get you through life. And it's personal, it's business, it's helping you succeed. Is how I view it, right? And I think all these things for women that we're doing are great, but again, that doesn't mean that we're lessening the burden of taking care of the kids or a relationship or anything like that. So it's already, you're coming with stuff to worry about, right?
Yeah.
And not really, and I don't know if you get this with a lot of your clients, we take care of ourselves last.
Yeah. And I'm guilty too.
Okay. Guilty as charged, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just upbringing that we're all nurture, nature. What, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I think, for me at least, I found that the way that I was raised, that you were always supposed to be taking care of someone else, and if you took care of yourself, it was being selfish.
You still hear that, I think.
Yeah, you do.
It's not changed any. It hasn't changed any, unfortunately.
But that's one of the things my dad was really, really great about. God bless him. He would say to me, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
And your dad was saying that. That's a great dad, right? Yeah.
And you think about it, when you're on an airplane, you know, the oxygen mask drops down, and they tell you what? Put it on yourself first, and then you help others, because you're no good to anybody if you're not functioning.
That's so true. What can you do? You can't give anymore if you can't give to yourself. So you teach a little bit of this with your clients, and especially meditation, something called acceptance and commitment, which I want to know a little bit more about, and then something called Reiki, which I have heard probably 1,000,000 times, and until I talked to you, I had no real grasp of what Reiki really is.
Okay.
I've heard it a lot, and until I actually had a conversation with you about it, I finally understood what it was. So what are those three things?
Okay.
I'm going to talk a little bit about that and how it could kind of help people in their everyday life, right? Because that's what we need to kind of function and understand, and why they need to come see you.
Okay. Well, I went through a very stressful time in my life, as I mentioned to you. In 3 years, I had a lot of really tragic events happen.
Right.
And meditation presented itself. And I had tried going to therapists and exercise, which is great, it helps a lot. But one of the things that I found about meditation was it really got me a chance to sit, to be quiet, and just to kind of let go and release my worries, my thoughts. And it sort of forced me just to kind of stop and be present. And over time, what I found was that with meditation, I became what we call more aware, more mindful. So I look at mindfulness or awareness as an outcome of meditation. Okay? And when I got certified to teach meditation clinically, I was also taught a lot about the physiological part of how the body functions, and when you do slow down and you quiet down, how the body changes. And there's a lot of evidence-based research right now, particularly with this Dr. Richie Davidson out of the University of Wisconsin. He has been doing research with the Dalai Lama.
Oh, wow.
And doing MRIs and things, and they can see and measure changes in the brain that take place for people who meditate.
Wow.
So there are changes, physiological and measurable changes, evidence-based, that we can measure to see how it changes you. So the program that I do really gets into what are the things that you can do to have a physiological impact that will impact the brain.
Right.
And that sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo, but it's really simple when you start doing it and you start practicing the little techniques.
Right.
And then from there, interesting enough, one of those tragic events was a house fire, but I ranked that way down low because you can always replace nails and wood.
That is very true. That is such a good thing to say.
So this is all about values. So with acceptance and commitment training, okay, here you are. You're aware. You're mindful. You're in the house. It's burning down. What are you going to do? Well, I'm mindful. You're not just going to stand there and watch the house burn down. And this is where ACT or acceptance, commitment training comes into place.
Okay.
Because ACT gives you critical thinking tools to help you live your life in a way that's meaningful and present to you based on your values, not based on my values, your mother's values, your sister, based on your values. So there you are in that burning house. You got to act. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to just run out the door? Or are you going to get your kids out the door, go for the dog, make a phone call, call the fire department?
So you're not scattered. You're present in what you need to do, right?
The burning house is really an exaggeration.
Right, I get you.
But typically what happens is any kind of situation where you have to do critical thinking, sometimes you're all over the place, and ACT gives you a path to follow so that you can go through these certain 6 core processes and evaluate where you are based on your values, and then you align your values with your behavior. And it's just really wonderful. What the outcome you want eventually is psychological flexibility. Because we all walk around with fears, anxiety, and worries.
All of us.
But to live a meaningful life, we have to have the tools not to let those things get in the way to do what is important to us based on our values.
Oh, I love the way you put that, because life's going to happen, right? I mean, you have a plan and then life laughs, you know, and then life happens, right? But I love how you say tools to kind of get you through those times, you know what I mean? Because I haven't been in school in a while, but I'm guessing they don't teach that still, you know? No. They're not teaching that in a book somewhere, I mean, unless you go outside of school. So kids aren't really growing up with that. And that's evident that we're more stressed, we're more, you know, inclined to depression, I think, and things like that. And when I hear you talk, I also hear about boundaries and setting boundaries, too.
Yes.
Healthy boundaries in your life, whether it's work, personal, relationships, and too, because then if you're present, you know, and you have boundaries, you know that if something crosses your boundary, the ACT part comes in,
it's
right?
not part of my values.
Right. You know? And once you set that I think that parameter,
you learn to say no.
You learn to say no, which women have a hard time doing. You got to own it. It's the point of she owns it, right? I think women in general, because we're the moms, you know, we don't want to let down our friends. I've been there.
But ironically, even children love meditation, and you can teach them acceptance and commitment training as well.
Which is where it should be starting, so that they can get through school or college or job interview. I mean, just all the things that life, I think, throws at young adults especially.
And as a parent, it helps you to model certain behaviors that they can tune into.
Absolutely.
In fact, the gal who asked me to join the women's chamber said, "Oh, you need to do more of this with kids."
Really?
So, yeah, she was great.
Wow.
So these are really wonderful tools that anybody can use. And what I try to do is break them down so that they're simple and easy.
Right.
Not complicated. But I will say that ACT is also another evidence-based practice.
For those who think that it means nothing, there's evidence behind their scientific evidence, which I think sometimes people...
And it's also used in a lot of alcohol and drug programs. It's used for people who have PTSD, anxiety, a lot of different diagnoses.
Well, I think stress is a major issue that we don't talk about because we're just expected to get over things. But that's not always the case, you know, and subconsciously what we deal with. So I think for what you do, especially being more present, being more aware of your situation, and then the action part are real life tips. That's real life.
Yeah, what you do with your mouth, your hands, and your feet.
You know, those are things that you can control. You can't control the outside world a lot of times, right?
Yes.
But you can control how you react to it, how you take care of yourself during times of stress, and because that's going to come regardless, right? So to me, it would make me feel good that I can at least control one aspect of when things are difficult, you know, and so I'm excited. So Reiki, let's get into Reiki.
So Reiki is wonderful. It's a Japanese technique, again, that's used to promote relaxation, calmness, and promote healing, because any time that your body just kind of slows down, relaxes, that's when the healing takes place.
Right.
When you're stressed and you feel it in your body and you hold it in your body. So there's not a whole lot of research on this yet.
Okay.
The National Institute of Health has done some research, and there's mixed reviews, but it is an ancient practice that goes back actually even before the Japanese to China.
Wow.
And Rei means universal wisdom, or...
Oh, I like that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
See?
and Ki is the vital life force. Like you would hear that in Chinese is Chi, or in Hawaii it's Ti. But it's the life force. So you have the wisdom part and the life force. So it's a spiritually guided energy that's used to heal. And in some of these Eastern traditions, they work with things called chakras.
Now, I have heard that many times.
And we have seven main ones, and then there's lots of little ones. And nadis, which are pathways, and meridians, which are pathways in our body. And a lot of times what happens is if we are upset about something, or if we are hurting or injured, we have these blockages in our body that need to move and need to flow. And so as a Reiki practitioner, I'm just the channel for this. I don't make it happen. I'm just a channel where it comes from the universal wisdom and channel it through you. But you have to be open and willing to accept that you can change, that you can heal. And it's a
That's really probably
tool.
the first thing is somebody has to be, open and willing
with
to.
all of these tools, because sometimes we're just in so much pain, we get stuck.
Yes.
I know that at one point in my life, I was really happy being a victim. I got a lot of sympathy and, oh, you poor thing, and I was like, oh. And then one day I woke up and I thought to myself, you know what? No. I don't want to be I want to take charge of my life, And so stepping out of my comfort zone of being a victim was difficult.
Yes, that is so important that you're saying this.
Because that was where I was comfortable.
You held on to that like that was your blanket.
I did, because that was the evidence that I was wronged. And if I let go of that evidence, then somebody gets off scot-free. Right? But it doesn't matter, because this is about my life.
Right.
And if I just want to hold on to that, I can't do the things to the very best that I can.
It holds you back. It really does hold you back from living and seeing life and people, in a good way. I think, and I see that a lot of time. People are holding on to past hurts, contributing to the stress and all the other things that they're not really dealing with. Which I love the commitment and acceptance, because you get to deal with those things.
Sure.
You have to kind of bring them into the forefront and deal with them and then act, which is, again, what you can control. You can't control somebody else and how they treat you, but you can control how you react and what you do, right?
And we hold these things in our body. I mean, have you ever gotten nervous or upset and had butterflies in your tummy?
Oh, right.
It's a physiological response.
Right.
But to be aware or mindful that this is a response based on how your body is reacting to a stressful situation, that's a big deal.
That's huge. It's like a superpower.
Yeah. So that's the first step, is becoming aware and recognizing it. And so that's what
Do you feel that anybody who's willing to be open to stuff like this that you practice with your clients can benefit from it?
Absolutely.
It's just as long as they're ready for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just being open and willing to make changes and transform who you are.
Right.
And be the very best that you can be.
Right.
And why wouldn't you want to be that?
I always say this. I had a conversation, I think, with Kara Joy and a couple other friends, Cynthia. You get one shot here. Like make it the best and experience all the good that you can.
And be happy.
And be happy, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm so happy you brought that up about how you kind of held on to things that had happened to you, because I think we tend to play the victim, even though we don't realize it at the time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like our safety net that we hold on to. Right. It's the evidence that
we were wrong.
Right.
And if we forgive and let go, that means whoever did that damage is getting off the hook and not accountable.
And it also, I guess, is forgiveness too, which is hard to forgive somebody who has not asked for forgiveness, which you have to do a lot in life, in my opinion. And these are real life things, I think, that happen to everybody. It's not somebody, people with a lot of money have it, people with businesses, not businesses. We're all going through everything.
And I worked with the homeless too.
Oh, really?
With more of the meditation and the acceptance commitment training.
Wow.
And it was amazing the transformation that took place with some of these folks. I mean, I could tell stories you would not believe. So for me, it's right across the board.
Yeah, it can help anybody as long as they're willing and open to it. But I love the fact that you're also an RN, so you've got both practices. I mean, you've done so much. My goodness, how did you fit it all in? I mean, is it because you've also practiced this too that you feel that you've been able to lead a little bit more balanced life?
Well, I think that once I started meditation within my own spiritual tradition, changing over into the clinical side of it, and these are contemplative practices.
Right.
So it was very easy to make the transition, but I have to say that I just didn't talk the talk. I believe it, I live it, and sometimes it's hard, but I know that if I don't, that I could go into a downward spiral and not have things be so good as they are right now. Right.
Do you feel, or do you talk about this with your clients, being grateful and making that as part of your daily, practice?
Yes.
Is a gratefulness exercise or anything like that?
One of the tools that I use is a body scan, and in the body scan, we learn to integrate gratefulness into the body scan, and also another body scan that I do pulls in being grateful basically for our gifts, being the gift of sight, ears.
Things we take for granted every day.
The gift of touch.
Right.
Your heart beating. Having your feet. People don't have feet in this world. So we learn to be grateful for the many gifts and for the gifts that you have that maybe I don't have.
And vice versa, right?
And the gifts that I have that maybe you don't. And maximizing them, again, to be the very, very best that you can be.
And that's, I think, the whole point of all of it, right? Is just so that you live the best life that you're meant to live, and not living in that constant, I think it's just like a constant fear. I see people sometimes that they don't go out on a limb and maybe try something new because they're afraid they're going to fail.
Yeah.
Failure's part of life. And I think what's great, again, is that you're giving people tools that maybe they didn't grow up with, which I think most people, unfortunately, unless your parents were like yoga teachers or something, you know what I mean? We weren't brought up
we weren't.
that way. And I think it's probably more accepted now, everything that you do, than maybe 30, 40 years ago, right? I think just as far as
generally speaking, I think people are more open and understand that there's a lot of tools out there that aren't necessarily same old,
which is
where you
probably not working a lot.
But actually, when you look at it, though,
they've been around for a long time.
Meditation's been around for a long time. But as we evolve, and a lot of these practices evolve too. There was one gentleman who, his name was Thomas Keating, who said at some point we'll be able to communicate without these cell phones. You know, once we had phones with
Can you
wires.
think of no cell phones?
Now we have cell phones where the message comes without the wires. Well, could the day come where we don't have the cell phones?
Right.
And we're communicating. Who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know, but I will say that that this will help, that there's evidence-based science to back it up, and it's a good thing.
It is a very good thing. I will say, I'm going to put myself out there. The hardest thing for me is quieting my mind, and that's the whole point of it, is to just be quieting your mind and being present. What do you say to somebody like me who's got this thing doesn't shut off ever? You know, my brain doesn't shut off. I'm thinking of everything I need to do, not just today, but a week from now, you know, and it's just all there. What are, like, I'm sure you have to have people like that who come to see you.
Yeah, and one of the things that you can do is it depends on the language you use. Some people call it a mantra. Someone will call it the sacred breath, sacred word, an affirmation, and you choose one.
Okay.
And when you choose that word and you find yourself in a stressful situation, and you just keep repeating that word over and over again as your way of just being present and letting go, that helps a lot.
Okay.
The other thing you can do is just sit back, take a deep inhale, and just exhale.
I think we underestimate breathing.
Absolutely.
We forget to breathe. When we're stressed, we're all like clammed up and like, you know, ready to fight, you know what I mean? And your body goes into an overload.
Right. There's this expression that goes out, where the attention goes, energy flows.
Isn't that the truth?
So if you're paying attention to your breath and your breathing and the attention goes there, that's where the energy will go. And it will calm you down.
I have faith. I really do. We're going to get into a 1-minute meditation here soon. Do you, for those who are just kind of like me and they just need to do it already, do you tell people who are, again, a little bit, not skeptical, but they've got a lot going on, do you tell them to do it in the morning, at night, whenever they're stressed? Is there a time to do it that's better?
Well, most practices, when you are learning, whether it's in a spiritual tradition, clinical tradition, yoga, they will say to practice twice a day for 20 minutes, which seems like really a lot. Now, for me, the morning practice has always been the easiest. The later one is a little bit more challenging, which for all the reasons you can imagine, whether it's fixing dinner or chores or having to go here, there, whatever. But I would just say to you to try to pick a time, the same time every morning. And if you don't have 20 minutes, sit for 2 minutes.
You can't mess it up, right? You just as long as you do it and start.
That's the thing. Everybody's so worried about, am I doing it right?
I have said that. I don't think I'm doing it right.
You just have to let it go. And whatever you do, you don't judge. You sit for 2 minutes. Be grateful for those 2 minutes. Because those 2 minutes, you are present. You are safe. And that's the thing is, when you're present, you're safe. When you think about it, right here, right now, at this moment, you're safe.
Alrighty.
And when you take those couple of minutes to be safe and be aware or mindful that you're safe, you can just kind of relax and let go.
It's really a health practice. I mean, it really is for the greater good to make sure you're running on all cylinders properly. You know, I had somebody tell me that you wouldn't run on a car that needs work until it falls apart, but we do that with our bodies, and we do not take care of ourselves. So with that, we're going to get into a 1-minute meditation. Pat is going to try to help me. So I want to give everybody an opportunity just to kind of get ready where you are, do it with me, and that way she'll give you some tips and tools. We're going to do just a minute just so you can kind of get in the groove for yourself when we're not here, okay? So we're going to do a minute. So what are the first steps?
All right, so the one thing that I just want to point out to you that's really very important.
Okay.
And then I'll just guide you through the
We're
rest.
going to guide
okay?
me through. Ready?
Is breathing from your belly. Okay, it's called diaphragmatic breathing.
And most people don't. They breathe from
breathe
up here.
from the thoracic
see, I know
area.
one thing.
Okay. So I would just invite you. You can either put both your hands
Okay.
on your belly,
All right, put
or
both
one
hands on your
hand
belly.
up here and one down below.
Okay.
Okay. And just take a moment to notice that your hands are on your lap.
All right, so my hands are on my lap.
Palms
Everybody
up,
face. Yep.
palms
Okay.
down. This
Okay.
is how I started. Whatever is comfortable for you. And then just close your eyes and close your mouth to go to your inner room, is what I call it. And just imagine that there's a golden thread running from the base of your spine out through the crown of your head, and that it's pulling you upright so that you're sitting tall with your shoulders back. And then bring your attention to the tip of your nose. And as you exhale, just notice that you are exhaling. And as you inhale, notice that you are inhaling. And continue to exhale and inhale at your own pace, your own rhythm. Thoughts may come ever so gently, no struggling, let them go, and come back to the exhale and inhale. Just exhaling, letting go, making room, and inhaling all the good things that you are so worthy of. And when you're ready, just coming back ever so gently to this present moment. How about bringing your arms up to your shoulders, crossing them over, and giving yourself a big hug. Remembering how important it is to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, how can you expect others to love you? And release. And open your eyes when you're ready.
I have to say, this is no joke, I've tried meditation. This is the first time where I actually focused. Because that has been that's probably the hardest thing, I think, for people, is that they have a hard time focusing and letting go of having to think all the time, you know. And that's what present feels like. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad
you enjoyed it. It was the first time where, like, I usually have like thoughts rushing in, and I think for people at home, I think that's probably why people don't do it as much. They're like, I can't quiet my mind, but
just a minute or two.
Yeah.
Just start like that. And I will say the other thing that was very helpful to me was I had a support group that I met with every week.
Oh, okay.
And we just really, just like the Women's Chamber, encouraged each other to show up and do what we needed to do.
So it is important who you surround yourself with.
Yes.
Right. Which is why we exist here at She Owns It and the Chamber. So yeah, that was the first time. I will say I'm pleasantly surprised that I could focus and breathe, and focusing on the breathing, which I don't think I've done before.
And where were you breathing from?
Right here. That's why I focused on the right breathing.
Yeah.
Most people breathe from their chest, and that's not where you're supposed to. It's from the diaphragm, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I can go about my day. I'm so much calmer now.
Good.
Pat Forde, thank you so much for being on. I really
such an honor to be here.
This was great. I think I really truly believe everybody needs this in their life. I think by and large, we're just really stressed out all the time. We've got so many things on our plate, but again, just as Pat said earlier, you have to take time for yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. You really can't. So imagine just doing this alone, just this practice alone. Build up to 5 minutes and but be consistent with it. I think it's like anything in life that you want to master, you have to practice and be consistent with it.
And you can ask your boyfriend or your child to sit with you so
you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
It could be a group effort,
Part
a family.
of a ritual.
It could be a family
before
bed, just to kind of calm the kids down and calm yourself down, which is so amazing. So for those who are now very calm and happy, where can they reach you?
Well, my website is the MindHealing, or just MindHealingInstitute.com.
Okay.
And my phone number is 305-606-2050. 305-606-2050.
Give her a call.
I would love to hear from you, and I look forward to it.
Again, this is amazing. I'm telling you guys, just give her a call. Check out the website. I'm so calm now. It's such it is a great thing. I'm not just saying that. It was the first time that I could just be at ease doing that. So she's got the technique. She knows what she's doing.
Just got to make her accountable to do it.
So somebody's got to call me and make sure every day that I'm actually doing it. So I'm pretty good at that. So check back. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Pat, so much for being on. She Owns It. Guys, thanks for watching. Again, we really appreciate it. I'm Nicole Rymer. I'm your host of She Owns It from the Women's Chamber of Commerce, Palm Beach County. We're here at Venture X in Palm Beach Gardens, and we'll see you next time.